Hi everyone, this is Kelly from The Truth in Story, and I just wanted to do a little update on how I'm using the Fairy Enchantments Oracle deck, because I've had some messages about it and it was just easier to just do a quick video. So I will put a link to, I did a walkthrough of the Fairy Enchantments Oracle by Ian Daniels. This piece of, I think this is Argonite, has, so far, this is what seems to be wanting to be here, so I've been keeping this with it. I did want to make note, and I made some annotations in my videos, but I did want to make note, they have changed. I've been watching, there's a Facebook group for people who have this deck, and to help, kind of encourage and walk through and help working with the deck. And so I've been able to watch Ian Daniels and his wife's kind of customer service responses to not all the decks, but some decks coming a little bashed up. And mine's pretty mild compared to poor Mr. Lunar or Mr. Remco. His look like elephant sad. This is such a sturdy box. I just feel like to have this amount of bashing is poor postal service, although I do think it needed another wrapping. So they have actually, and because I do have, like, the corners are a little banged in too, so they've added corner protectors and a wrapping around it. So I did want to make sure to note that for people that might be like, oh, I'm a little leery to get it because of the that kind of thing. But they've been really quick to take care of the situation and to send new decks to people that boxes were bashed, and they have changed the way that they're mailing them. So I just have been really impressed with their response to and taking care of the situation. So I wanted to make sure I noted that. And then I just wanted to do a quick video. I'm going to also show you a draw, but for right now, people often say, well, I talk about setting intentions, and people are like, well, what do you do to set intentions? I've done a video on how I generally set intentions, and I will put a link to that in the description box below. Usually with this box, this is a book box, and I use geomancy figures, and so yesterday was a new moon, and so I was setting some intentions, and so I wanted to just show you again how I go about setting intentions. Now, some people, they'll call this doing, magic workings or casting spells, or however they might approach that. I apologize, my air conditioner just went on. Yesterday got so hot in here, Isabel was having a little bit of a rough time, so I had to actually turn my air on. Anyways, so, but for me, because I don't identify as a Wiccan or as a witch or anything like that, I really do think about it as setting my intentions out there and very clearly saying what intentions that I have and what I'm focusing on. And I generally always do it at new moons or full moons. For me, a lot of times at full moons. But the only time I do sort of what I would call setting intentions around business or money concerns, I have a friend that I do it for, and they're the only people that I really do that for. So I wanted to kind of show you how I set that type of thing up. I've done a little bit like this before, but I want to show how these cards really aid in that, so you can just get a feel for it. So this box thing is something I got at Hobby Lobby. It's to make, you can set up, use it for art, to hang it on the wall, put some artistic things on it, work and use it in order to make a wall hanging or something. But I bought it to do like 3-card draws and things on it, but I use it now a lot for this because it's compact, it fits on my table. I can then set everything up and take it out onto I used to have a small patio, and I have a little table in the patio, and I put it out there like in the moonlight, but it's very portable, lets me put everything I want to put out there, and so that's why you're seeing this wood thing here. I set up, we had the new moon in Taurus, so from the Arcana of Astrology, I think these are called. I think these are called Arcana of Astrology. I always mess up the name for some reason. But I took the new moon and the in Taurus, which is what yesterday was, the new moon in Taurus. And so I just do that because I love those cards, and so sometimes I'll set those out. I put my wand that I made out because, or my magic pen as I like to call it, I put that out because there hasn't been a new moon since I made it, and so I'm going to put it in the full moon too when the full moon comes out, so that's why that's there. And because I like things to be balanced, I put a citrine because the citrine is about abundance. I have the geomancy figure for gain. If you look at it, you can see like a bag with an open mouth so things can come into it. That's what I often use if you want to gain something into your life. So I have that sigil put out there. I always have the 4 elements, so I have, this was, would have been fire when I lit it. I have feather for air. I have a little ceramic bowl that, I don't know if you can even see that down there, that I put moon water that I have. I actually need to bring that in too, that I left out in the moon too. But I have moon water that I use for the representation of water, and then I have a piece of labradorite tumbled stone that I use for representation of earth. So I have 4 elements. And then generally on this surface here, I put cards. I'll use tarot cards for abundance. If I'm looking for abundance, I use the Wildwood Tarot, and I use specific cards that relate to abundance or whatever it is that I'm setting intention for. The beauty of this particular deck is that there are these keywords here, and it's kind of, and I did this already on the video, so I'm not going to repeat everything. You can watch the walkthrough, but the purpose of these are for a 3-card workup, which is usually what I do. I use tarot cards, 3 tarot cards, and so the first word indicates the first position, the second, and the third. So you kind of go through the cards and find what, when you put them in the right order, would create what your intention is. And so in this, increase abundant success. So for this particular person, has a business venture and wanted to increase success on that seemed to be the best card. So in the cards themselves, we have Habondia, which I wanted to, let me grab that really quick off my phone. This was one of the few cards that I was kind of like, why this? I love the image, but I didn't quite get it to do with abundance and good fortune and that kind of thing. And Ian Daniels was so lovely as to send me a message. Let me see if I can get it up here. Okay, I'm going to read this because it made so much sense to me, and I want to make sure, because I really liked this card, I just didn't quite get the image. So he says, a couple thoughts. Habondia was created very much with the Wheel of Fortune in mind, because this associates with the Wheel of Fortune. As other cards show abundance more directly, I wanted to show her as change and the turning of the seasons or the wheel. So really she represents the changing of the seasons, winter being the lifeless cave and doorway she is leaving behind over here, and the rays of gold light she is moving towards in the distance being spring and abundance. She is aged and somewhat daunting because she represents old ways, rejuvenating or transforming towards new light and youth. Also for me, the Wheel of Fortune seems ancient in its slow, unyielding revolutions. I think of her almost as Mother Time. So I thought that was really, really, he also explained Rhiannon with the 2 hands being about sort of a union between masculine and feminine, but I'll talk about that at another time. But I really loved that he took the time to explain that. It makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah, I just thought that was amazing because this is a card that I would use quite a lot. And so I thought that that was really great of him to, have watched the video enough to respond to details, right? And then to take the time to explain that so that it makes sense to me. And I put a note on the video as well. But this was one of the cards that I used. And so that was really neat. And then, of course, we have Armathian, who is, he is the till abundance in terms of tilling. He could only till these special fields. So we have him. And then we have Quill, which is interesting because this is about successful. Well, this is the last card in the deck, and he's the only, he's the only non magical being, because he actually represents the fulfillment of a set of magical circumstances. And so that makes sense for that being sort of the success card. And so I put those cards, so those are the 3 cards that I chose. And then on a piece of paper, I wrote increase, abundant, success. I wrote a statement that was more specific to what, you know, my intention was. And then I combined these 3 into one rune, these 3 runes into one rune, and I wrote that on a piece of paper, a little piece of paper, and folded it up. I also took out, underneath here I put a bill that is kind of representing the energy that that person keeps with them. And then I also have something of theirs, so this would be similar to this for me, but for them, that I also put on there. So that was represented to connect to them. And then for each of them, so I had Tiger's Eye. So if you see on these cards, Tiger's Eye is for Amethyst, so I have that. I had a piece of malachite for Puel, because malachite is for Puel. And then I did not have a piece of golden obsidian, but I found another stone that I had, and I used a piece of pyrite, and it felt like right. I have a lot of different stones, and this one felt the best. I do want to get some golden obsidian though, but this worked, it felt really right. So I had these, so I put them in sort of the order of their intentions, or how you would say it. So this would be increase, abundant, success, had the 3 stones, had the bill underneath, had the representation of the person that I was setting intentions for, and then so that's what was here. And this is all what you hear. This is honey, just kind of a fey offering, since I was using this particular deck. And then I just used this as a cast iron because it's safe to burn things in, and I burnt the note here. I'm a big proponent of writing down intentions, writing down things actually that you want to release, all kinds of things like that, and then burning them. That's something I've done for many, many years. So I did that and burnt the intention with the sigil on it, and then left it out all night, obviously in the moonlight. And then these 3 things, along with the ashes from the note, I've just kept in a box, and that will be kept for the 3 days that was recommended in the book. Plus, I just love the idea of the number 3. So that's how I went about using this deck, which is Fairy Enchantments deck. That's how I ended up using this. And this is exactly what I would normally do, except for I normally use tarot cards specifically here, so I've used these instead. And this is just amazing because you can kind of pick, and you could have picked some, a bracelet. You could have done it in a stone circle. You could have done it at twilight. Here, I used crystals and stones because that's what I had, but you could have used a piece of bone. You could have, had a representation of a horse or a piece of corn. Here you might have a juniper branch, or an indication of a raven, or something along those lines. But as long as you kind of pull one thing from each thing just to represent those things. And so that was probably the one additional thing that I normally just obviously lay the cards out that I'm using. But I wanted to just show you this because this was how I used this deck this was the first new moon that I've had to be able to do so. So yeah, there we go. Then I'm going to move this out of the way, which is nice because I can easily do so. And then I want to just show you something else real quick. So this is just a little bit of an update. You see these walkthroughs, I think, but you don't always, get to see, okay, well, how are those going, right? How is it going using it? So I also did a 3-card draw for myself yesterday for the new moon. And I have been finding myself really turning them over like this. I was telling somebody about this deck. These images are amazing, and I don't want to undermine I don't want to undermine the artwork in this deck because it's absolutely stunning, and so I don't want to undermine that whatsoever. But for me personally, the backs, you know, this was technically would be the backs of the cards, I suppose. But for me, these are the fronts, and these are stunning backs to then go into and get more more information. But I'm really, really, really in love with the backs. And so this kind of functions for me so far, and that may change, but so far these are really functioning as the front for me, because I'm really interested in seeing immediately who it is that I'm working with, what are those keywords that are there. I love seeing the runes and kind of thinking how those might come together, and then all of the correspondences and what that might say, because the fact that amethyst is associated with Brigid, that says something to me, and so I might, you know, pull out a piece of amethyst to put that, you know, and so the bright green, the colors popping, so I've got 2 greens and a purple, you know, then that I kind of feel fluoride-y about that, and so some other association might come up because of what's going on here. When I look at the animals, we've got frog and crow, we've got a unicorn and a rabbit, we've got a robin, we've got a dragonfly and a seagull, so I think, okay, we've got birds going on here. You know, I start to think about what do those animal totems say to me. So I've really been using this as sort of, I've laid them down. All the readings I've done so far, I've laid down with this side up. And then after I've kind of done that, because I'm very analytical, I'm a Libra, I'm an air sign, I love the analytics. I do, of course, love the lore. It's a very heavily part of my way of thinking and my path. And so that really appeals to me. So I really am doing all that first, and then I'm kind of turning it over and saying, okay, you know, that's beautiful. What other hits might I get from that? But I'm really starting from this place, and then turning it over and saying, okay, I know now that she's associated with ewes, she's associated with cows as well, and what that might bring to this to the thing. This is about feelings and compassion. So we see that very Ace of Cups, which I know this is associated with. And so then I start to pull in those kinds of energies from looking at it, but and they're stunning. But I have to say, for me, like the gold mine has really been in these particular cards. So when you're using it in terms of a reading, so we talked about these 3 cards in terms of setting intentions or casting whatever you're going to do with it. You're using the first, the second, and the third. So this is increase, abundance, success. If you're reading it as an oracle, you're looking at these bottom ones right above the rune. So this is about emotion, dreams, and feelings. And so this card is, but look at, we have release and suspending emotions, as well as imbuing and having compassion about feelings, right? So there is a little bit of an idea of release as well as having compassions for those emotions. And for me, this being in the middle card is really telling me to pay attention to my dreams. And I've had some really powerful and interesting dreams, and so then I might, okay, I need to pay, this was yesterday, so I need to pay more attention to my dreams, really be focusing on the message there. What is it that I need to release about the emotional things that I've been dealing with, and then what, give myself compassion for where I am, having grace and space for myself. So then I start to get like this whole message here, if that makes sense. But I just thought it was quite interesting that this has really come to, and again, I haven't had this very long, but as I've been using it, I'm just so impressed with the system and the organization and the correspondences that are there, that this has really been my focal point. And then it's like, okay, well, that's really beautiful. I'll kind of turn it over and just kind of look at the art that way. But the really, for me, it's all been about this what is to me the front, even though I know that's technically the front. So I think that's quite interesting. And I just wanted to point that out. how I've been using that, because again, I do a lot of walkthroughs and a lot of deck reviews and things, and I know that I try to remember to kind of touch bases, and people are good about touching bases, was asking me like on live chats, like how has that deck been going, you know, how are you enjoying that, how are you using it. So I try to do that, but I wanted to kind of show you how I would set those intentions from before, and then like how I've been finding the deck itself. So I hope that you've enjoyed this, and I wish you guys all a wonderful day.